I want to start by talking about the incredibly important role that the UK has played in GAVI. It was one of the founding donors, one of 6 in 2000, and they've participated in every one of our innovative instruments, which I'll describe in a minute. The vision behind this was the fact that in 2000 there were powerful new vaccines that were being made available to people in wealthy countries, but were not getting to developing countries, the places that you could argue needed them the most. In addition to providing these new vaccines, the other thing that GAVI has done is provided financing for stockpiles of vaccines for epidemics. So we keep vaccines for cholera, for yellow fever, for meningitis, and now Ebola. And the whole purpose of that is to have those available should outbreaks occur either in GAVI countries, at which point we pay for those vaccines and also support their use, but also in other countries. And in those countries, they pay GAVI back if they use them. Other interesting instruments were set up. The UK engineered an amazing instrument called the Innovative Financing Facility for Immunization. Work started around 2007, and the idea there was we could take guarantees from donors and create then vaccine bonds on the capital market. So you could take the promises from donors and turn them into front-loading to buy vaccines. And we were able to immunize 80 million children before the money was given to us by donors. This was an extraordinary tool that is now being used for COVID vaccines. We'll talk about that in a second. Another innovative tool that the UK was very involved with was setting up an advanced market commitment. In 2009, there was a pneumonia vaccine. It wasn't specific for developing countries. And the idea was, how do we incentivize companies to do it? A fund was set up with a number of other countries. And with that, we were able to go to the companies and say, please make this vaccine. Please give it at a good price to developing countries. And if you do that, we'll give you a top up so that this makes sense for your shareholders. And that's been very successful. We've rolled it out now in more than 60 countries and have been able to vaccinate more than 180 million children with this very powerful vaccine. So where are we? 20 years later, we've immunized more than 760 million additional children. We've prevented more than 13 million future deaths. And we've done all of this with an overhead rate that is below 2.5% because we work as an alliance with WHO, UNICEF, the World Bank, the Gates Foundation, and others. So it's been a very effective model. We launched our investment opportunity in Yokohama in August of 2019 to start fundraising for the next 5-year period. We've asked for at least $7.4 billion US, and we've promised, if we can get that, to vaccinate an additional 300 million children against 17 diseases. That's the largest number of diseases in history. But it's not just that work we do. We also, vaccines don't deliver themselves, so about a quarter of the money is used to build resilient health systems. We also support technical assistance by supporting UN staff, about 350 people on the ground from WHO and UNICEF, as well as working with other partners. So let me move to what is on everybody's mind right now, which is the outbreak of COVID-19. This is obviously a challenge for you at home, for people around the world. It started out mostly in wealthy countries, but it moved over the course of the last 4 months to now being in over 180 countries. And of course, the GAVI countries have not been left behind. 63 out of the 73 GAVI countries have cases of COVID right now, and we've jumped quickly to try to help those countries. We've immediately repurposed our financing for health systems to allow them to use this for COVID prevention. But obviously the critical issue here is how we balance that with trying to keep immunization going, because what you don't want is to have epidemics of vaccine preventable diseases overwhelming the health systems at the same time they're trying to deal with the COVID epidemic. We are the largest buyer of vaccines in the world. We buy about 500 million doses a year, and provide that to about 60% of the world's children. So, of course, when a COVID vaccine is ultimately available, we will be a critical player in trying to make that available, not just in poor countries, but presumably in other countries as well. We also, of course, have a huge interest in making sure there's adequate vaccine manufactured. And so we will use some of the instruments I've talked about to try to make those vaccines available. What is my ask to you today? So first of all, let's not compound the COVID risk. Let's not allow other vaccine preventable diseases to overwhelm health systems. And let's try to continue to provide support to countries to make sure they can prevent those infections. That not only prevents the countries from having these diseases, but it also prevents them from being exported to other countries, which makes it a risk for the whole world. Also, we have to make sure that we don't have a COVID allow the systems to collapse and create reservoirs of large amounts of infections occurring anywhere in the world. What we've learned is this disease can move anywhere. So let's make sure that developing countries as well as developed countries get control of this epidemic. And finally, let's not let our systems go backwards. We have, over the last 20 years, built this incredible immunization system across the world, reaching 90% of children with at least one routine vaccine. That's the most of any health system. And we want to make sure that we can continue that going forward. So this is going to be very important. So let me just finish by thanking both yourselves for being advocates for this, for the UK government for its leadership role in agreeing to host our replenishment on June 4th, which I suspect now will be virtual. Let me also thank the UK taxpayers for their incredible support in having this incredible system built up over time. Vaccines are the most cost-effective intervention in the world, and it makes good economic sense to have these vaccines be out there. I do hope that we will, on June 4th, have made an announcement that will allow GAVI to be fully funded going forward, and I hope we can call on the UK government to do its part as being the leading funder for GAVI and the leader of this important effort going forward. So thank you for listening to me, and I wish you the best in your deliberations.